Our next presenter is Michael Music, who will be talking about a physically distinct multi-agent sonic space ecosystem.
Thank you, Stephen, for my long title. Good morning, everybody. I've been working on a multi-year project called the Sonic Spaces project, in which I've been developing a series of installation pieces and performance pieces dealing with agent-based behavior, modeling principles and relationships I have found from the natural world into music. So this discussion will present the work, development, and initial findings, and will move in this Sonic Spaces project away from a single computer-based system towards an interactive musical metacreation system comprised of distributed, physically distinct agents built from a single board computers. In addition to highlighting the technical specifics of how the system was developed, this talk also takes time to discuss the role of agents and agency with Sonic space ecosystems, as well as the specific roles of agents in computational systems such as this one. So the Sonic Spaces project is concerned with research and practice into so-called sonic space ecosystems, which I'm going to define for you in this really obnoxious way in a second. Work in the Sonic Spaces project is interested in researching techniques for the composition of interactive music systems that exhibit or explore properties, behavior, and relationships found in natural ecosystems. A basic metaphor used to describe these music systems is the idea of a living agent or species which need energy or sound that they use to live and survive from. A living agent in a sonic space ecosystem listens for sonic energy so that it can consume that energy. In doing so, this energy is transformed by the agent through digital signal processing and then returned to the environment for other agents to use. The resulting output created from all of the agents, as well as any human participants or any other sounds in the room, creates an emergent composition. The resulting emergent music is dependent not only on the nature of the algorithms composed for the system, but also on the external sound contributed to the system, as well as the acoustic relationship between the system and its containing environment. Recognizing the diverse viewpoints that could emerge from such discussions, the Sonic Spaces project delineates its practice in ecosystemic art by creating sonic space ecosystems. This type of interactive music system's goal is to create spaces where sound from any source, i.e. system, human, or background machinery, ultimately alters the resulting emergent music. Okay, so this long thing, I'm going to read through it real quick since it's hard to read. I'll be fast about it, but sonic space ecosystems, here clarified to refer to feedback-based sonic space ecosystems, are classified as both cyber-physical systems and interactive music systems, comprised of hierarchically related elements that together perform a system function that is greater than is possible by the individual elements. The primary function of this system is to create a controlled music environment which exhibits emergent qualities of self-organization, created through interreliant relationships between internal elements in the digital system and relationships between the digital system itself to the physical sonic space that it is installed within. These elements are made aware of their physical world through microphones that act as transducers, allowing them to use sonic energy that they then transform according to their individual function or algorithms as a way of surviving themselves. This transformed sonic energy is then returned to the sonic space through speakers that act as output transducers as a way of potentially affecting the system as a whole. A healthy system is one that exhibits self-regulating states of growth, decay, and steady states, and is capable of recovering from any unexpected or extreme environmental changes. These systems are open and require an external contributions of sonic energy by human participants or non-living external elements in the environment. The sonic space ecosystem then fulfills the organism's requirements that an ecosystem is a dynamic complex of elements, agents, communities, and the non-living environment interacting as a functional unit, while at the same time fulfilling the ideas of interactive music systems. Okay, so for an in-depth description and to fully unpack that justification and definition, you're encouraged to read a chapter from my dissertation, which you may or may not want to do, on the theoretical grounding and definition of sonic space ecosystems. For the purposes of this presentation, clearly, I'm going to move forward. I just wanted to try and give everyone an idea of where I'm at with these pieces. So one topic that's mentioned in the paper title, but not in that definition, is the idea of agents or agency. And this is important because within these types of systems, we tend to refer to things as agents. So I want to take a moment just to talk about that. Systems are said to be comprised of elements which work together to perform a function greater than is possible by any element alone. Complex systems, the type of which sonic space ecosystems are further classified as, tend to be hierarchical systems, where elements of the system are comprised of sub-elements. The relationships between these elements creates a system whose function or behavior is greater than the sum of its constituent parts. In complex systems, the ability to describe the emergent behavior of the system through the summative properties of all elements, including sub-elements, becomes impossible due to the constitutive relationships of the elements. This complexity in sonic space ecosystems results in emergent music, which is not totally predictable, yet exhibits similar types or classes of behavior between performance instances. So even though each performance of one of these systems will be different invariably, it still exhibits similar types of behavior from performance to performance. The specifics of the emergent music are reliant not only on the algorithmic design and digital construction of the system, but also on the sounds and music that have come before in a performant instance, the acoustic properties of the containing environment, and the placement of the system's hardware in the physical environment. When describing systems, especially complex systems in which the resulting action of the systems are not fully a priori, it is common to refer to specific elements in systems as agents, or to describe various elements agency. Since the idea of agency is one rooted in human perception and free will, using the term within discussions of computational systems can be misleading. Recognizing this issue, the use of the terms agent and agency follows the practice of others. The use of these terms in this project is meant as a tool for analyzing systems, not as an absolute characterization that divides the world into agents and non-agents. For the time being, this project will stay at a high level when considering agency, recognizing that from a human perception standpoint, routine, purpose, and judgment all constitute important dimensions of agency, with none by itself capturing full complexity. From a computational systems standpoint, autonomous agents within the Sonic Spaces project adapt the definition proposed by Franklin and Grazer. An autonomous agent is a system situated within and part of an environment that senses that environment and acts on it over time in pursuit of its own agenda, so as to affect what it senses in the future. As well as Woolridge, agents are computer systems with two important capabilities. First, they are at least to some extent capable of autonomous action, of deciding for themselves what they need to do in order to satisfy their design objectives. Second, they are capable of interacting with other agents, not simply by exchanging data, but by engaging in analogs of the kind of social activity that we all engage in every day of our lives: cooperation, coordination, negotiation, and the like. So actually, I'm going to go back. Essentially, that describes, go the other way. This idea right here kind of describes the idea of an agent. We're taking in some sort of informational data, processing it, thinking about it, trying to affect the environment, and then checking again to see if that environment has been updated. So that's been the Sonic Spaces project. And prior to this work, all of the pieces I had done had been single computer-based systems. Essentially, I had a bunch of microphones in a room, a bunch of speakers in a room. They went to one big audio interface of some sort. There was a single program running, and the agents existed in the same box. This has worked out really well. I've had some really great musical expressions through this, but I have had two issues that have resulted from this. First, participants, or people coming to check it out, have had a hard time distinguishing individual elements and agents. There are also issues of scale associated with a single computer system, in that I can't move towards 100 microphones and 100 speakers as easily on a single computer. For that reason, I began exploring moves toward physically distinct multi-agent systems utilizing single-board computers. These sculptural agents were developed and composed with respect to definitions of agents just discussed. So this is one of the examples of a move towards a single box agent. It's got a Raspberry Pi in it, it's got a microphone in it, it's got a speaker in it, and it all kind of gets housed inside of it. So one of the portions of this paper I'm going to skip a little bit is the actual development of these physical boxes, the hardware choices that I made. If you're interested in how I came to those choices or the actual hardware in there, please check it out. But it's essentially a Raspberry Pi based system, because they're great. The software development for these agents occurred concurrently with the hardware development, so that decisions from both perspectives were made recognizing the reliance on each other. Initial creative algorithm work was completed on a Mac, which was connected to similar types of speakers and microphones that were being tested for the sculptural agents. The idea to compose for the hardware that you will use for your composition. As a working system started to come together, it would be ported and loaded to the Raspberry Pi for further assessment and development. The most important high-level system interaction intended for Sonic Space number 9 of this piece was the presentation of a system containing multiple computers that are physically distinct and separate. Each of these individual computers essentially becomes its own independent sonic ecosystem, capable of understanding its sonic space environment to some degree, using sonic energy from this sonic space, and and then transforming the sonic space by contributing sonic energy back into it. Another high-level interaction that was to be explored with the system is how communication would change between individually, physically distinct digital agents who are no longer shared any of the same hardware audio transducers. So essentially, I used to have a bunch of microphones. Now each agent has its own individual stuff. And so how is it that these agents can talk to each other in space? And as I build these systems and install them in different places, the spatial positioning of the agents to each other greatly affects the outcome of the piece. It greatly affects the emergence of the compositional paradigms, and it affects their ability to hear each other. And this is, so I'll bother you for a little bit here. So you can kind of see as I talk and get some sound to this guy, he's going to come up with his own little sound responses to it based on how he wants his environment to be. These agents are looking for specific types of sonic energy. If it's present in the environment, they use it and they live. They process that sound and then they put it back out into the environment to try and help their other species live with them. Another significant change for this piece is that I actually developed two species, color-coded for the time being rather cursively with just light wood and dark wood, such that I could tell them apart. So there are two distinct species with three of each kind. So you can hear this, and I'll play it again in a moment, but what I wanted to give you again is a little bit of an idea of what this sounds like in total. So this is excerpts of 5 agents. Okay. So to move on, one of the things I want to talk about is this has been great for a couple of reasons. As an installation artist and as the chair of this program, installation program, one of the great things about this kind of piece is I can show up to somewhere and not be reliant upon the speakers of wherever it is I'm going to, which is great. Another thing that's been preliminary tests so far, participants to the systems have shown that there's a better understanding of the role of agency and that each of these boxes is its own agent and makes decisions about this, and that's something I'll continue to test. Moving forward, one of the other things that I'm really interested in is the ability of a distributed system to be built on a mass scale. So one of the pieces I'm working on now will be Sonic Space number 10, the Grove, and I'm working on building a system of 100 of these, such that you will walk through and be able to hear kind of how they truly interact in a much larger spatial sense. And I'm really excited to see how that spatiality plays out and how that also affects issues of agency within systems. So thank you all very much for listening to this.
Okay, we have some time for questions, and our next